Hi, my name is Danielle Rosen. The ongoing opioid epidemic has been spurring around for decades and has taken nearly 69,000 lives due to overdoses around the globe every year. There should be more regulation and stricter guidelines on the amount of opiates we are dispensing in order to further decrease the opioid epidemic that America is currently in. The opioid epidemic has destroyed thousands of lives in the United States. Many people lost their lives due to overdoses, although some are still suffering due to debilitating addiction, which began by taking prescription pills prescribed by their doctors, which was believed to eliminate pain. This has unleashed death and devastation across our country for over 2 decades. In the next few minutes, I will show you how truly vital it is that we limit the amount of opiates that are handed out to Americans in the ways that we can achieve this. It is urgent to put a stop to the growing number of opioid addicts in the world. You never know when the next person may be your mother, your sister, or your son. The first way that we can decrease the opioid epidemic that America is currently in is through the redesigning of pills. Stated in the article Understanding the Epidemic, written in 2020, there are specific pills such as morphine that are perfect for abuse simply because of the way the pill is manufactured. These types of pills need to stop being given to the public or else this epidemic will continue forever. Although in recent years the FDA has come up with multiple ways to combat abuse, not only by changing the way the pills affect the body, but also the chemical makeup of the pills. Stated in the article, What is the U.S. Opioid Epidemic?, which explains the opioid crisis and how to combat it, in order to restrict the euphoric high patients get from these pills, it's important that the drug formulators begin to add an antagonist to every single pill, which in turn eliminates the abuse factor completely. For example, a lot of opioid addicts get on a medication called Suboxone, which contains buprenorphine. Buprenorphine is a opioid, although Suboxone contains naloxone, which blocks the effects of opioids. As a result, the addict cannot abuse the drug because the naloxone would be activated, which then puts the user in precipitated withdrawals. That is why Suboxone is used to treat narcotic addiction. The next way in which to eliminate the opioid epidemic is stricter prescription drug monitoring. There are many cases where addicts will go doctor shopping. Doctor shopping means the addict will go to multiple different pharmacies and pick up the same prescription. In 2008, doctors in the United States write a total of 237 million opioid prescriptions at a rate of 78.2 per 100 people, as written in the National Institute of Drug Abuse. Unfortunately, the monitoring programs don't work at state level. Although in recent years, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Service Administration is helping to fund multiple states to try to combine their systems, as of now, the state of Illinois has seen a 22% drop in the total number of opioid prescriptions written in this program, with this program in place. This statistic was found in the article Epidemic by Yerby, written in 2019. The final way that we can put a stop to the opioid crisis is to sue opioid manufacturers. Massive pharmaceutical companies play a major role in the current opioid epidemic. Some of the major players who took part in creating the opioid epidemic include Johnson & Johnson, Pruda Pharma, and Endo Pharmaceuticals. For example, from the National Institute of Health, in 2010, Pruda Pharma generated $3.1 billion of OxyContin sales alone. Also, all of the companies listed have centered their marketing campaigns on the use of opioids as an all-purpose pain treatment medication. Pharmaceutical companies made a dramatic use of lobbyist groups in their efforts to increase and influence opioid prescription practices. The author of the National Institute of Health continued by stating, one such group, a University of Wisconsin-based organization, also known as the Pain and Policy Studies Group, received $2.5 million from pharmaceutical companies to promote opioid use and discourage the passing of regulations against opioids in medical practice. This shows that these companies are making enormous amounts of money by essentially getting people addicted to opiates. Now that I've demonstrated a few ways to put a stop to the opioid epidemic, let's evaluate the harsh effects opioids have on the users. Opioid addicts not only experience serious effects on the brain and body, but also long and short-term consequences of withdrawal that may last a lifetime. These effects of drugs on the brain and body inconvenience the addicts on a daily basis. As stated in the Withdrawing from Opiates in Opiates by Cass, the human brain naturally contains a large number of neurons that release endorphins, which are feel-good chemicals of our body. When someone abuses drugs, such as opiates, their brain gradually loses the ability to create the endorphins and overall damages the brain's ability to function normally. On the other hand, regular opioid users experience bodily changes as they grow more addicted. The reason behind this is because the nervous system becomes more and more dependent on the drug the longer one is using. Long and short-term consequences of opiate withdrawals vary from addict to addict, but overall most experience very similar effects. The severity and length of withdrawal symptoms depend on the type of opiate and how long one was using. Although immediate withdrawal symptoms include muscle aches, restlessness, anxiety, and the list goes on. Now let me pull together why the opioid epidemic needs to come to an immediate halt and why it should be important to you. The opioid epidemic should matter to you because you never know when one of your family members or friends can easily slip away due to addiction or even worse, an overdose. Overdoses usually come as a surprise because people are prescribed pills without any regulation to them. It is quite evident that there needs to be an extreme evaluation on how we are regulating the amount of opiates that are dispensed into our communities. If this is done correctly, then the opioid epidemic will decrease and eventually will come to an end. If we redesign the current pills that we are dispensing into the community, as well as provide stricter prescription drug monitoring, and lastly, sue all opioid manufacturers, then we will witness a dramatic decrease in the amount of opioid addicts and deaths caused by opiates in our nation.